Coming up on Valley View News, residents in Van Nuys say the noise from the airport has become unbearable.
It's killing us, and you're affecting schools in the area.
Plus, immigration advocates fight for a path to citizenship. And get your boots on.
I'd like to see Chris Lane.
For a country music festival in SoCal.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Isabella Warren.
And I'm Nicole San Juan.
We start with developing news. The closure of a bank in California could cause a national finance crisis. Silicon Valley Bank, which catered to the tech industry for 3 decades, collapsed this month. The collapse scared many of its customers who rushed to withdraw their funds all at once out of fear of not having their deposits repaid. The federal government stepped in and shut the bank down. The fear spread across the country to other customers and caused a bank in New York to also shut down. CSUN economics professor Alex Yukov says that there is no need to panic.
I don't think the situation with 1 or 3 banks is a concern until people begin to lose their jobs.
He says even if that happens, we have enough safeguards in our nation to prevent a similar financial crisis as what happened in 2008. Congress is now reassuring Americans that the scares are unwarranted. President Biden also stepped in. He announced plans to stabilize the banking industry. He insisted that the nation's banking system was safe.
President Joe Biden visited Monterey Park this week to discuss efforts to reduce gun violence. The president was expected to give a speech about half a mile from the scene of a mass shooting at a ballroom dance studio. In January, 11 people were killed and 9 others wounded when a 72-year-old man opened fire after a Lunar New Year celebration. Biden referenced the shooting during his State of the Union address last month and called for a ban on assault weapons. A day before his Monterey Park visit, the president met with the prime ministers of Britain and Australia in San Diego. They discussed a pact to help Australia get nuclear-powered submarines to counter China.
The most recent storm to hit California has caused significant damage across the state. In Monterey County, a levee failure triggered major flooding that put an entire town underwater. It happened late Friday night, covering the town of Pajaro in water. Nearly all 2,000 residents have been forced to evacuate their homes. The town was able to get through previous storms because a flood wall in the lower part of the levee held up. County officials say some water in the county is unsafe to drink now.
It comes as the state is bracing for yet another atmospheric river storm this week. Forecasters with the National Weather Service say Southern California will see heavy rain and strong winds. It's good news for drought alleviation, but the storm will bring some dangerous conditions to the area, especially in the San Bernardino Mountains, where the rain will likely cause snow melt, which could lead to flooding. Avalanches are also possible. Flooded roadways and rock slides could also lead to travel delays. There is a moderate risk for overflowing creeks, mud, and debris flows in recent burn areas.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order to make it easier to collect rain and snowmelt to replenish the groundwater supply. It comes as the state has been hit with several powerful storms, leading to heavy flooding in many areas, such as the Kern River flooding by Camp Kernville. With the new order, Governor Newsom says the state would take advantage of future storms by buffing up support for local stormwater capture. Experts say groundwater basins make up 41% of the state's annual water supply, but they aren't directly tied to mountain snowmelt and take longer to fill. Law currently requires people to get a permit from the State Water Resources Control Board before diverting water to groundwater basins. The order would pause that requirement until floodwaters recede.
Emelie County building housing offices for resources like social services caught on fire last week. Valley View News' Maximus Osborne was at the scene and has more on how crews battled the blaze.
LA firefighters battling a blaze at a Los Angeles County building on the 2600 block of South Grand Avenue in the historic South Central. Authorities say it started at around 4 a.m. Wednesday in the 6th floor. The flames were so intense it took 160 firefighters an hour to put them out.
The fire for now seems to be contained, although we are still left with the remnants of the fire. Shards of broken glass all over the ground, currently being picked up after. Firefighters are also investigating what caused the fire.
While the flames were extinguished, firefighters had to make sure toxic fumes were no longer present. LAFD Battalion Chief Melford Beard was one of the hundreds who responded to the scene.
Now, right now, what we're using is our Typhoon ventilation equipment to go ahead and ventilate the 6th floor because of the fumes. So we want to make sure we blow out all the smoke out there.
The building held offices for several agencies like the LA Department of Social Services and Public Health. No workers were injured and the fire did not interrupt the services. James Bolden is a public information officer for the county's social services.
We are still open for services. There is a building right next door at 2707 that's providing the same services. We want the public to know we're open.
While the investigation continues, LAFD's chief says that the response is what prevented the fire from engulfing the rest of the building.
No victims, but they, through their dedication and hard work, they put the fire out.
Reporting from Los Angeles for Valley View News, I'm Maximus Osborne.
Scary story, Maximus. Thank you. California's multi-million-dollar contract with Walgreens will not be renewed following the company's decision to not sell an abortion pill. Walgreens has decided not to sell mifepristone in 21 states, including some where abortion is legal. Governor Gavin Newsom says the state will not stand by corporations that, quote, cave to extremists. The contract between the pharmacy and California allows the state to get specialty pharmacy drugs. Walgreens has received almost $54 million in the past through the contract.
LA teachers and other school workers are planning a 3-day strike, which is likely to shut down LAUSD schools. The strike could happen within the next 2 weeks. It is all over an explosion of labor discontent. It would be led by the Local 99 of the Service Employees International Union, which represents 30,000 cafeteria workers, bus drivers, and custodians, among other workers. If the teachers' union joins, the strike would be more likely to shut down schools. Collectively, the two unions represent over 60,000 employees. Local 99 says staff are fed up with disrespect and unfair practices. The union wants at least a 30% raise for all employees. LA Unified Superintendent says the district hopes to reach an agreement with staff.
An update for LA drivers, the average price of a gallon of regular gas in LA County dropped to $4.94 Sunday. It's the 4th day of decreases in prices following a 35-day streak of price hikes. However, AAA says we should expect prices to increase in the coming months. California will be switching to summer blend gasoline, which will add 5 to 10 cents per gallon.
SoCal beaches have been closed periodically this winter because of water contamination. It's caused by an overflow of sewage from Tijuana, Mexico, after a major pipeline broke in August. The South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant is now filtering through an extra 5 to 10 million gallons of sewage each day. Several primary treatment tanks in the plant are clogged, making discharge water less clean. Officials say the tanks should be cleaned by early June. The broken pipe that's causing the overload will be fixed until next year.
8 people were killed off the shore of San Diego after 2 migrant smuggling boats capsized. San Diego Fire Department Chief James Gartland says the incidents happened in shallow, treacherous surf with heavy fog.
With all of the storms we've had over the winter, the inshore holes are, there's a lot of inshore holes and the rip currents pull very strong.
Emergency services were called by a passenger on one of the boats. Coast Guard and San Diego fire rescue crews say the fog made it difficult to rescue people. They say recovered passengers weren't wearing life jackets. Most survivors escaped on land. Federal officials say hundreds of smuggling operations occur every year off California's coast. Some turn fatal.
Residents that live near the Van Nuys Airport are complaining about the loud noise that jets cause when flying over their homes. Valley View News' Lupita Baltazar has the story.
Jets land and take off from the Van Nuys Airport at all hours of the day, and those who live in the area say they are fed up with the noise, air pollution, and many other negative impacts they bring.
The jets that take off 1 every 8 minutes, they take off all through the night. And they're going to tell you that there's nothing that we can do. You know, there's nothing we can do. I mean, we can't tell the jets when they can take off, when they can land. We can't do that. We can't. Yes, they can. And you know how they do it? And this is how Santa Monica got it done. stop accepting FAA money.
This is exactly what residents are complaining about. Before taking off, we can hear the loud noise, but once they're elevated, it's even worse.
Residents say they not only have to deal with the noise at night, but also with the jet pollution that they have to breathe every single day.
It's killing us. And you're affecting schools in the area. Schools have to stop because it's so loud.
On Tuesday, there was a Citizen Advisory Council meeting where residents voiced their concerns. They don't want the noise, air pollution, and let alone an airport expansion.
I want to be clear that there's no physical expansion of the airport. We're at 730 acres, and we currently are not in any discussions for acquiring more land around the airport.
Residents are determined to keep advocating for change soon. Reporting from Van Nuys for Valley View News, I am Lupita Baltazar.
Lupita, thank you. More to come on Valley View News. A Taliban representative dies in an explosion, and a potential change to retirement benefits for the elderly.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Welcome back. Women in Turkey protest in arms for Women's Day last week. Reyna Torres is in our digital media room. Reyna?
Yes, but we begin with some unsettling news as more Americans have gone missing in Mexico. 3 women have been missing for 2 weeks after traveling from Texas to Mexico. The women were going to Nuevo León to shop at a flea market on February 24th. U.S. officials have not intervened in the search yet because the women are Mexican citizens. It comes after 4 other Americans went missing early March. 2 of the 4 were found dead. The Mexican cartel has taken responsibility for those kidnappings. Saudi Arabia and Iran have signed a breakthrough agreement. The 2 countries will reestablish diplomatic ties on Friday and reopen their embassies. They cut ties back in 2016 after Saudi Arabia's execution of a powerful Shiite cleric. The 2 have relied on proxy wars in Iraq, Yemen, and Lebanon to fuel the feud. China facilitated the meeting, highlighting its growing role in the Middle East economy. The agreement poses the question of what might come from the U.S.'s involvement with Iran and how it might change. In light of International Women's Day last week, women in Istanbul took to the streets. They protested ahead of Turkey's election, pushing for resignation of the current administration. Women dressed in purple and pushed against police lines chanting, "Government resign," and "We are not afraid." As tension raised, hundreds of women were pepper sprayed. The crowd of over 2,000 is part of what they're calling a feminist rebellion. An explosion has killed a Taliban governor in northern Afghanistan. The cause of the explosion is still unknown, and no group has claimed responsibility. The governor is one of the highest senior officials to have been killed since the Afghanistan takeover. The Islamic State militant group has claimed other deadly attacks in the country. 2 of those were an attack at a Sikh temple and a suicide bomb at Kabul airport. The UK and France have just signed a new immigration deal worth almost $576 million. The agreement would ramp up police presence and fund a new migrant detention center in France. The English Channel has seen a boom in migrants crossing into the UK, going from 300 people to 8,500 in just 2 years. British Home Secretary Cuellar Braverman also introduced a bill that would refuse the right to asylum to migrants not arriving legally. But the bill has been criticized by opposers as racist and legally unsound. Back to you in the studio.
Reyna, thank you. Locally, several organizations rallied to advocate for immigrants' rights. Valley View News' Andrea Peña Reyes has the details from downtown LA.
The Coalition for Human Immigrants' Rights rallies at the Roosevelt Federal Building, demanding Congress to re-enter the Registry Bill. It's a 1929 law that allows undocumented immigrants who had lived in the U.S. for more than 7 years to apply for green cards, but it has not been updated since 1972.
In order to allow for more folks that are undocumented immigrants, whether they have TPS, whether they have DACA, or they're non-DACA youth that don't qualify for DACA because you can't apply for new applications, they would be able to adjust their status.
Other organizations such as Asian Americans Advancing Justice, SEIU Local 2015,
we are American in every single way, except on paper.
and the Council on Americans-Iceland Relations also participated in the rally.
I fully understand how difficult it can be to be stuck in the limbo of our broken immigration system.
People shared their testimonies and chanted how the 8 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. needed immigration reform.
One of the most inclusive bills. Other bills that have been known as comprehensive immigration reform have had a lot of different bars that limit who can actually get in.
According to the Pew Research Center, 10% of immigrants live in Los Angeles County without any legalization. Reporting from downtown Los Angeles for Valley View News, I'm Andrea Peña Reyes.
Andrea, thank you. Republican Nancy Mace is urging President Biden to raise the age of Social Security beneficiaries. The South Carolina representative says she fears she will not have retirement funds based on the country's spending. The age for retirement has been slowly increasing, and now those born in 1960 or later must wait until they turn 67. 66 million retired workers, dependents, survivors, and disabled workers rely on the monthly payments. But Congress expects the funds will be depleted in 2035. President Biden has promised to protect the program from any benefit cuts.
In wake of the recent kidnappings, the Texas Department of Public Safety is warning residents to avoid spending spring break in Mexico. They say that drug cartel violence and other crime pose a huge threat. Citizens who do decide to vacation in Mexico are encouraged to register with an embassy. Mexican state of Tamaulipas, where most of the kidnappings have happened, is considered one of the most violent places in the country. U.S. officials say over 500 Americans remain missing in Mexico.
A Texas man is suing 3 women that allegedly helped his ex-wife get an abortion. The man alleges that his ex-wife learned of her pregnancy in July of 2022, a month after the state's Roe v. Wade overturn on abortion. But the ban didn't go into effect until August of 2022. State leaders argue that the pre-Roe v. Wade overturn abortion policies that punish the ones who assist with abortions were in effect. It means that the friends that assisted her can technically be sued under the wrongful death statute. The lawsuit is relying on group chat messages between the ex-wife and her friends who allegedly helped her find and deliver self-medicated pills. The manufacturer of the pills may also be dragged into the case, as the plaintiff is asking for $1 million in damages.
Arizona has launched an official hotline for residents to report what they're calling inappropriate school lessons. The State Department of Education says Empower Hotline will allow parents to voice their concerns about classroom and teachings that focus on race or ethnicity and promote gender ideology. Superintendent Tom Horn says these lessons rob students of precious minutes of instruction time. Conservative politicians have been balloting critical race theory across the country and continue to try to restrict classroom lessons.
When we come back, we give you the inside scoop on Hollywood's biggest night, and a treasured feathered friend is gone. Stay with us.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Remember the best planned 90 minutes of your life? Or that surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Welcome back. Sunday night was Hollywood's biggest night. Everything Everywhere All at Once took home 7 Academy Awards out of 11 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Filming, Editing, and Best Original Screenplay. The film also took home the accolades for Best Supporting Actress Jamie Lee Curtis, Best Supporting Actor Ke Huy Quan, and Best Actress for Michelle Yeoh. Brendan Fraser won the Best Actor for his role in The Whale, making a historic comeback to Hollywood. Guillermo del Toro won his 3rd Academy Award for his animated adaptation of Pinocchio.
A new trailer for the live-action Little Mermaid premiered on Oscars night, showing fans more of the movie. Halle Bailey stars as Ariel. Her powerful vocals drive the song Part of Your World. In the retelling, Ariel rescues Eric from a shipwreck, which looks more fiery and intense than the one in the original movie. During the trailer, Ariel appears in her iconic pose, leaning onto a rock with waves crashing around her. The Little Mermaid movie remakes hits theaters on May 26th.
Academy Award speeches battled the clock on Sunday night following the inevitable music when the time runs out. Executive producers and showrunners said in an interview that trying to control the length of thank you speeches is a responsibility they take seriously. One of the showrunners said they're not trying to be rude by cutting people off, but they are just being professional by doing their jobs. At the Oscars, a countdown clock helps winners keep track of time. When it is up, words on the teleprompter appear that warn the winners to wrap it up.
The worst actors and actresses were also awarded. The 43rd Golden Raspberry Awards, better known as the Razzies, were announced this past weekend, focusing on what they believe were the worst in cinema. Tom Hanks was the big winner. He won the Worst Supporting Actor for Elvis and Worst Screen Couple alongside his latex-landed face. Netflix Blonde won the Worst Picture and Worst Screenplay. Disney's Pinocchio adaptation won for the Worst Remake. The Worst Actor award is for Jared Leto and Morbius.
Singer Taylor Swift's song All Too Well will be studied by students at Stanford University. The school's website says the course will offer an in-depth analysis of Swift's lyrics in the song. The course will offer students an introduction to topics taught by the alumni of the program. This unique course will have students engaged in hands-on learning and topics like travel, sketching, watercolor, music composition, improv acting, animation, and digital art.
There has been somewhat of a country music drought in Southern California. Boots in the Park, a country festival chain, was in LA's backyard last weekend. Valley View News' Aaliyah Fitzgerald joined the rodeo.
It feels like it's been forever since we've seen a gathering like this, but Southern California residents from all over were ready to enjoy live country music in Santa Clarita's Boots in the Park. Live country music was available in 2021, but crime at these Southern California concerts was high. As a result, normal bookings from country music headliners have stopped in Southern California. Some even drove 2 hours each to meet in the middle to enjoy
Justin Lynch, that's why we're here.
We're seeing Chris Lane too. We're seeing Chris Lane too.
Yes.
I'd like to see Chris Lane.
Even if it meant risk of being soaked by rain, attendees were more than happy to gather for a genre that isn't seen often around Los Angeles.
100% country fan. You got to bring it over here.
Some even drove 3.5 hours from San Diego to see their favorites.
Chris Lane, T. Lynch, Typical country stars. I've been told I look like Chris Lane.
Boots in the Park aims to provide country music festivals to fans all over SoCal. Headliners like Sam Hunt, Jason Aldean, and Luke Bryan are booking their shows over 6 hours north or even over state lines. If attendees behave as well as they did at Boots in the Park in Santa Clarita, perhaps more organizers will book shows here.
It's pretty evident that Santa Clarita knows how to have a lot of fun at country festivals despite rain conditions being underway. In Santa Clarita, I'm Emelie Fitzgerald for Valley View News.
Thanks, Aaliyah. A zoo at Region East Yorkshire in England mourns the death of what's believed to be the world's oldest Humboldt penguin after her death of 32 years. Humboldt penguins are medium-sized penguins that reside in South America. They can live up to 20 years in the wild and are classed as vulnerable to extinction. The penguin named Rosie lived at Surrey Hallway since 1990 when she was brought from a bird park. Staff say Rosie died in her sleep and was just weeks away from her 33rd birthday. The staff at the zoo will be holding a special tribute for Rosie and are inviting the public to share memories with Rosie too.
This week at the box office, Scream 6 is performing well at over $5.7 million, which is projected to be the most successful of the franchise. The reviews have been positive so far from horror fans and fans of Wednesday star Jenna Ortega. The Adam Driver-led film 65 ranked in $1.2 million, but is suffering from lower scored reviews. And Creed 3 has brought in $26.7 million after a second weekend. The Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Cocaine Bear movies are also performing well.
Tennis star Serena Williams was honored at the 54th National Association for the Advancement of Colored People Awards. The annual ceremony takes place in Pasadena. It highlights exceptional performers and artists. The 23-time Grand Slam winner took home the Jackie Robinson Sports Award. It recognizes outstanding achievement in athletics alongside a commitment to social justice and community involvement. WNBA player Brittany Griner was also recognized on stage with a standing ovation for overcoming adversity. She faced imprisonment in Russia for possessing vape cartridges containing hash oil that caused her to miss out on the 2022 season, but was released after 10 months.
A new flavor ice cream will soon hit the shelves at selected Walmart stores nationwide. Hidden Valley Ranch announced their new ranch-flavored ice cream on National Ranch Day. The salad dressing maker will collaborate with Brooklyn-based ice cream parlor Van Lowen. The legitimate pint of ice cream promises to deliver savory flavors of ranch, buttermilk, flavorful herbs, and touch of sweetness. The ice cream will be on sale from March 20th to May 28th, starting at $4.98. An insider tip, top your scoop with crushed pretzels or potato chips for a perfect salty crunch.
That's all for us at Valley View News. I'm Isabella Warren.
And I'm Nicole San Juan. For stories any time of day, go to our website, CSUNValleyView.com. Thanks for watching.